Let's Talk Prevention Idaho. This podcast is a production led by the statewide nonprofit Community Coalitions of Idaho, or CCI. Here at CCI, it is our job to support the work of prevention across the state of Idaho. Through education, training, and providing valuable resources, we help make the work of prevention happen all across Idaho. This podcast will update listeners on what CCI is doing from week to week, as well as provide information for vital professionals in Idaho and across the country. How's it going, everybody? So, welcome to yet another episode of the Let's Talk Prevention podcast here in the great state of Idaho. And we have an amazing opportunity for, I believe, our first podcast of 2022. I know that we're into 2022 for a minute, but 2022 was crazy, just getting into everything and all that it entailed with wrapping up with all of the fun worldwide things that we were dealing with and they're dealing with now. Things have just really kind of moved faster than anybody was anticipating. But so today we have a really neat opportunity to speak to someone who has created an opportunity to work in the substance abuse prevention field that you may not have ever thought of. So as you guys all know, I am also the media sector rep for the Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition. And when I sat down at one of our most recent meetings, this young lady walked into the room that I had no idea who she was, and found out that her name was Miss West Boise. And I'm like, what? So we get a chance to meet Miss West Boise and to find out what someone who is running for, what she's running for, how she could even possibly be involved with prevention, and why it's so freaking cool. So Ashley, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So help me out here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and what are you doing? Why are you called Miss West Boise? What is your goal? And how does prevention of substance abuse issues, how does that all wrap into it?
Yeah. The Miss West Boise thing kind of fell into my lap. I was working in the addiction recovery field as a recovery coach, helping addicts and alcoholics in recovery. And I noticed the need for more women's sober living in our area. And so I opened a women's sober living house, and then had a lot of opposition from the neighbors, kind of the NIMBY, I'll support you, but not here, not in my backyard. And that just really opened my eyes to the fact that there's a huge stigma around addiction, and people just don't know what leads into addiction. I myself am an addict in recovery. And when you look at me now, that's not what you would think. And when I was trying to get into recovery, I didn't see people like me. And so as I got involved in the community, I was approached about running for Mrs. Idaho. And I have never done a pageant, but I care a lot about substance abuse prevention. I care a lot about especially telling our preteens and teens about the dangers of substances and abuse and alcohol and the dangers that can come with that, because I wasn't told when I was young, and then I fell into traps. And so I was running for Mrs. West Boise, running for Mrs. Idaho, and hopefully getting to run for Mrs. America. I get the chance to start breaking that stigma and start telling people about addiction and substance abuse.
This is so cool. And, it would be, of all the things that you have ever seen on the Miss America stage, it would be just, in my opinion, amazing to have someone whose focus is on prevention and keeping our communities clean and away from substance abuse. That would just be, that's like the Super Bowl. Because we don't end up, people who work in this field don't normally get the attention that others, I mean, especially working, like if you were working in recovery, like recovery gets more attention than prevention. And we're always trying to sell people on why prevention exists and how it works and stuff like that. So you said that you're in recovery. What do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I grew up in a really strict religious household, and my parents were amazing and did the best that they could. And they told me to stay away from drugs and alcohol, but didn't ever explain why. We have a lot of background in my family, which is a huge risk factor of people who are addicts and alcoholics. And so I was never told the dangers. I was just told no. And so I did what any kid would do and went ahead and tried it. And with my genetic predisposition, it did not take long for me to be an alcoholic, full-blown alcoholic. Could have lost everything. And I'm just grateful today to be in recovery and to be able to have the opportunity to outreach and to help other people know about the dangers.
How long have you been in recovery?
3 years.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the whole thing about that you said about just don't do it and not having the why is ironic, because in my time and when I first started out in prevention, we looked at what were the problems with our youth, why were they using, where were the downsides with the just say no attitude towards substance abuse. And it really taught us that we needed to empower our kids with the why. The why was the important thing. And what we found is that we gave kids a why, and when they found themselves in a peer pressure situation, sometimes the why was enough to stop the peer pressure. Because if you just say no, but are you afraid? You can say, no, I don't want to fry my brain cells, or I want to be able to pass my test. Whatever from a simple why all the way up to more complex things about, I don't want to binge drink, I don't want to die kind of situations. And what we found was when kids are being peer pressured, they're not just the only ones. There's other kids in the area. And what we found was we sending these kids in with their why was basically like letting little prevention hand grenades go off in a group of kids. The kids right there in the middle, in the thick of it, they would get the most exposure from the why. But other kids would get little shrapnels they would hear some of these messages. We are finding that substance abuse problems in the schools where these kids attended were dropping larger than just in these specific peer groups where these kids might have existed. So important to give the why. And it's ironic. You could be the best parent, you could have the best intentions and give your kids the best shot at successfully staying away from drugs and alcohol, and they could still find their way there just because of the curiosity factor, right?
Yeah.
My daughter, I just came home from a conference, and my daughter needed help with homework. And I'm not the homework guy. My wife's a teacher. She's the homework person. So I was a little suspicious when she was asking me. Those are health class, and they were talking about binge drinking. It was about alcohol and binge drinking. I'm like, oh, I just learned a bunch of this stuff. I know, I'm pretty sure I can help you. So explain to me what you've been doing with your platform to push this prevention message. I mean, outside of joining us at the MADC meeting, what have you been doing to help with your message?
Some things I have coming up. I'm going to be at Tree Fort with Idaho Safety Crew, talking about prevention, talking about overdose prevention. Most importantly, if you try the drugs, I would love that you have Narcan, naloxone on hand, just so you can enable yourself one more breath to still make a choice. I plan on going downtown in April and handing out a bunch of Narcan with some of the girls that live in my sober house, and having them be able to share their stories of recovery with people who are in the thick of it. And I would love an opportunity to get in and start talking to preteens and teens in schools. That's my goal at the end of this, is to be able to get into the schools and start talking to the kids.
It's really neat because most of the time when you're in a pageant or you're fighting for, prom queen or something, it's always the most popular kids, and they're the ones that are one of the questions that my daughter needed help with last night was what is the number one reason that kids start drinking? Like, why they try alcohol? And sadly, she didn't take very good notes. So I don't know what her teacher told her, but we know from experience, just in the world of prevention, is boredom is the number one thing. I was bored. It was available, so I tried it. because I wasn't going to do anything else. And a lot of times kids who find themselves without anything to do are the kids who are kind of on the fringes. They don't believe that they really have anything to offer at school other than just showing up, doing my work, and going home kind of thing. So it's really neat for kids to see that not only is this something that everybody can do, they can all stay clean, but you can also have made mistakes in the past and still fix your, do things to correct those, and to have an amazing opportunity to do cool things still because you decided to break away from harmful substances, right?
Yeah.
How's your so you said you have a sober house. How's that going? Like, tell us a little bit about your house.
Yeah. We have 8 women that live there right now. Most of them have come from an inpatient program, and they live there. It's on a month-to-month basis. And we've had, the longest one has been there, I think, 5 months. We just opened in October. And so they get to live there. We just ask that they're working and doing some sort of a program for recovery, either 12-step or an outpatient treatment or something. And they become like a little family, that they're all like-minded. I chose to put the house in a very family-oriented community so that they could be around that and see that that's, something that's possible, because I found that I become the people I'm around. And so if we put all these women together that are like-minded, that want recovery, that have goals, that are in a community that's family-based, they have a greater chance of success.
Instead of dropping them in a ratty motel in the bad part of town where the temptations to fall back into addiction are literally at your doorstep, right?
Yep.
It's one of the things we always have to think of when we're trying to keep certain things out of our community is, are we doing this because it's not palatable to us, or are we actually doing this because it's dangerous to our community? So it's kind of neat. I'm glad you found a place for your sober living home, because especially with women working in law enforcement in Southern California, I can tell you that the number one reason why a lot of women cannot get out of substance abuse is because the only person that they have supporting them is their dealer, or is their boyfriend who's pushing drugs on them, or even worse, their pimp or their horrible father. So it's always, there's nowhere else for me to go, so I have to stay here and try to do the best with a horrible situation. So the fact that you're giving these women an opportunity to have a better life and to see that things are, especially here in Boise, because I mean, we're dealing with, a lack of inventory just on places to go, right? I mean, our homeless shelters are completely full, and a lot of people in the homeless shelters have addiction problems, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you've offered these women opportunity, we want to give you big time kudos, because it's very important that we take care of our communities and just do what's right by our fellow Idahoans.
Yeah. I hope later this year too to have a home open where women can bring their children as well. Because a lot of women also choose not to leave because what do I do about seeing my kids? What do I do about visitation and stuff like that? So that's my hope, is to have a place where they can bring their kids too.
Yeah, we've worked with, there's a organization in Southern California where I moved from that created one of those opportunities. And we saw lots of really great outcomes from, because you're right, kids can be the greatest reason why you stay in a crappy situation. And what's neat is, I think that would play really well here in Idaho, because there's one thing that Idaho really doesn't seem to like, is hurting other people. We want to make sure that everyone is well taken care of. I mean, that's the biggest thing that with our political landscape right now, with people getting angry and stuff, when it happens here in Idaho, we're like, why here? We shouldn't be like that. So yeah, we'd love to let us know, share information with us if that does come to fruition, whatever we can do to help support that would be amazing.
I will, for sure.
So what are the next steps in the Miss West Boise? So what are your next steps on the road to becoming Miss Idaho?
So the Mrs. Idaho pageant is in June in Idaho Falls. And so until then, it's really not required for me to get involved in the community until I'm Mrs. Idaho. but I figured why not use the platform I have now, and start working now. The pageant's in June, and then if I win that, then I go on to Mrs. America, which I believe is in August.
And so you're Miss West Boise. I forgot to ask you this earlier, but is there a Miss Boise that you're in competition with?
Yeah, so there's a Mrs. Treasure Valley, there's a Mrs. Boise. I know there's a Rexburg, Idaho Falls, Bonneville County. They're spread out all over Idaho. Yeah, but there's, I think, 4 or 5 of us here in the Boise Valley, and it's not really a competition. I found it's more of like a sisterhood, and we've come together, and what's your project that you're working on, and how can I help with that, and kind of joining forces, and it's been really cool to see.
That's amazing. I did not know that. Yeah, that's cool. I always thought it was more of a competitive thing. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I learned something that I didn't think I was going to learn today. Cool.
Yeah.
And what I do know is that you don't do this alone. So who are the people standing behind you? Who are the sponsors? Who's helping you down this road to see if you can become Miss Idaho and help us with our message of prevention? Who's behind the scenes helping you out?
Yeah, my husband is my number 1 cheerleader. He's been with me through all the addiction, all the recovery, all the ups and downs, and he just sees the goals and dreams that I have, and he just says, how do we make it happen? Let's go, let's do it. I have parents here in town. My in-laws are also here in town. A big sponsor of mine is Build Idaho, my husband's real estate team. Do Work Realty is also helping me. We're doing some stuff for the homeless shelters with them. And I've just kind of dug into the community and asked everyone, how can I help? And who wants to help me with this?
And so if people wanted to support you or learn more about your run for Miss Idaho, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Probably on Instagram at mrsmrs.westboise.
So they can find you there, and they can see. I know they can see what you're doing. They can message you if they want to learn more information.
Yeah. And if anyone has any projects that they want me to join, this is my full-time job. I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom and doing sober living houses, so I've opened a lot of time to be able to just do the pageant stuff.
Cool. Well, Ashley, we're so appreciative that you took some time out of your day to sit down with us. And then second, thank you so much for picking prevention. I know it's something that's near and dear to your heart from what you've gone through, but I really can't thank you enough. I think I said it at the meeting that we were both at. Most people don't even know how to spell coalition until they've been inside of one. So the fact that you are raising the flag for prevention and helping get the word out so that our coalitions can be more successful, I really want to thank you again, because it's not a flashy topic. So
yeah, but it's one that needs a lot of attention.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So guys, what an amazing opportunity to meet Ashley. If you guys want to reach out to her, her Instagram link will be in the bio of this podcast, wherever you are watching it, whether you're watching it on our YouTube channel, the popular place where you get your podcast, or on our did I say YouTube channel already? It's been a long day, but on our YouTube channel, on our website, on our social media, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts, wherever you're watching for your favorite podcast, it'll be in the description there. Please remember, wherever you're watching this, leave a message, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart. Please feel free to rate our podcast. We'd love to see what everyone out there thinks about what we're doing. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out at Community Coalitions of Idaho, wherever you are on social media, or communitycoalitionsofidaho@gmail.com if you want to email us. So I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast, and we'll see you next time.